this morning, and what we're trying to do is we're going to try to take this idea for an app that used to be a spreadsheet. And what we've done here, Kurt has used his amazing paint skills and replaced a few things on the screen. So you get an idea for what we're going for with this app that we're going to build today. So perhaps, maybe at the top, we could have employees, okay, staff members, and we all have tasks to work on. Those tasks will be represented in those cells here on the screen. And then on the side, we've got little time slots. Have you guys ever heard of time boxing? Apparently, there was a study done by Harvard, of all places, and the findings of the study was that people who just don't do a task list, but actually put tasks inside either a calendar or the different time slots within your day, you're generally more productive. So why not build a Power Apps application to do all this type of stuff? Wouldn't that be cool?
Wow.
I never heard of such things. So you're more productive if you put things in little boxes, huh?
Right.
Well, I'm going to start doing that. I definitely need to be more productive. Yeah.
Yeah. So you plan exactly the day and the time. And I would imagine here, so let's close our eyes and imagine a Power Apps app that will do something like this. Maybe we'd have something at the top that would allow us to change the day, maybe a date picker, maybe a little arrow to go to tomorrow and plan tomorrow, or maybe go back one day and see what we did yesterday. So maybe we could have something like that. So David, you're the one that came up with this idea of doing an app like this. And Kurt was saying, this is actually a great idea for a video. And I'm like, Kurt, you're not always right, but when you're right, you're really right. That always gets a smile out of him. But yeah, I think this is an excellent example. Sometimes people ask me, what is Power Apps? What is it used for? And I'm like, well, people have all their stuff in spreadsheets for some reason because they don't have, no other better place to put it. So a lot of places and people within organizations are still keeping track of data in spreadsheets. And I'm like, well, think if you had an app built around these spreadsheets. So spreadsheets are easy to put together, and they're very difficult to make your users use them in a certain way. So you could have a phone number there, and they could type an email address instead, right? Which would be a little frustrating for us.
But this exercise, there's so many uses you could do for this. Like this could be an event calendar, it could be a to-do list. It could be, there's just so many scheduling type things. This kind of answers all of that. If we can create a model here,
Yeah, because usually,
I don't know. I'm just throwing this stuff out here off the cuff here. What about not today? See, because if I say that, Darren will want to do it today.
I'll jump on it right away, and
He will. He so will. So instead of maybe make a component out of this. Make a template / component out of this. Maybe we could do that in maybe the next live session or something.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah. That would be cool.
There's a lot of cool ideas that you can come from this, and I think a lot of people could gain from this. So
yeah.
So I think by looking at this, hopefully everybody that's viewing, that's joined here, have a good idea of what we're trying to do, the app that we're trying to build. And of course, we've got a lot of things to consider, a lot of things to sort of plan out. And of course, I'm keeping an eye on all the comments. Rick says this is going to be great. No, you are. Tony said,
Rick is great.
Tony says that would be cool. And so glad to have you guys on the live stream with us here. And well, let's think about what type of, I was just talking to David a few minutes ago. I'm like, hey, what data source are you using? He said Dataverse. Okay. So David, would you happen to have any type of ideas for your data or any ERD diagram that you had in mind?
Yeah, I actually pulled something up yesterday, and yeah, as you can see over there, you have residents, you have tasks and employees, then you have other stuff that are connected to the employees, like regular medicines that needs to be tracked, phone calls that need to be tracked, and requested medicines that also need to be tracked. So these are the main stuff that need to be kind of like tracked and followed up on. Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right. So whenever I begin with any project with a Power Apps application. I always think about what's my MVP, my minimal viable product. That
Yeah.
the most viable product.
Most viable.
No, minimal viable product, which means we got an idea for an app, and people get together and talk about their app idea. They start brainstorming about anything. You've got all kinds of ideas, and you're going to think of all these cool features and screens. And in this case, we've got 7 different database tables. Now, David, today, while we're building this, I would imagine we're going to make use of employees
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and also tasks.
Yeah.
Would that be like a minimal viable product for this application, or do we need some of these other tables while we do this app today?
No,
And Kurt,
I don't think so because we are primarily going to be displaying the tasks that employees would be doing. Yeah. Yeah.
okay, and I know Kurt has something to say.
Yeah, I'm about ready to blow up. So so
No.
so we cannot go on until I say this.
Uh-oh.
So there's something that's hanging like a zit on somebody's nose. Sitting here looking at this. So your task, we need another table.
Yeah.
You need a task table, and then that task that you've got set up right now, that would be better named maybe assigned tasks, so that you can keep track of that. But you're going to have different types of tasks. Some tasks are going to happen every day. Some tasks are going to happen every half hour. So we've got to be able to define these different kinds of tasks, and that might be important in our MVP.
Yes, that's actually really important. That's really important.
So reoccurring tasks. And I'm looking at your table here, David. Do we have something? We might have a field there. And Kurt, chime in here. I'm thinking we might have a Boolean field says, "Hey, is reoccurring?" And then we have reoccurring interval. Is it every day? Is it every weekday? Is it?
Oh, so you're saying just put
Once
that
a
in
week?
the assignment? Yeah, you know what? That's even better, Darren, because you can be flexible within it. So most of the time this might be every day, but then this special occurrence is only going to be one time, maybe, right? So maybe have an interval field in there instead. I was actually thinking about having a task with a task ID assigned to the thing. So, but the way you're doing it, I think is even better because you just have a field sitting out there.
Very good, very good. All right, so what I'm going to do is just to make sure that we get to something that's usable, get to that minimal viable product within this session, this Power App session that we're doing here. I'm going to try to strip down to the absolute essentials, but just realize, David, with your project, you probably need to build onto this and have additional things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show my screen. And keep your ERD diagram up, David, because I might need some ideas. Like, are there any fields that we need to? And I'm thinking I might omit the whole reoccurring thing for now. If everybody really likes this project, maybe we can continue this on. I know for the past few weeks we've been working with the onboarding application, and I don't want people to get fatigued from a big, long, large project that we do for months and months. So I like these little detours, are a little refreshing, like a little standalone app that's all contained within one session. So hopefully we can get to a good MVP
Let's do it
by the end of this session here. So I'm here in my sandbox, and let's go over to our tables, and I'm going to create a new table, and we've got some options to look at here. I'm going to make this a little bigger so everybody can see it. Add columns and data, describe the new table. That looks like Copilot. And then we have set advanced properties. And I think when I create a new table, I always want to use this.
Okay.
And they've changed it over time. They're always changing things up on us, aren't they? So in this case, I'm going to call this, what is the name of your project? Like overall, what's the...
Of the project.
What's the name of your project? Every
I would
project
say
needs a good acronym, by the way.
S39, sorry. It's kind of like an all-encompassing name for the whole department. So
S39?
yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So in that case, within Dataverse, if you have multiple projects, typically I'll prefix the tables with like a project name or something. Um, you know what I
I guess
might
task planner would sounds good, you know?
task planner. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say planner, and I'm going to every table I'll have, it will just be planner. And in this case, I'm going to say task. And what's great about this is in Power Apps, if you're trying to remember a table name, all you got to do is say planner, and then all your database tables will be listed there, hopefully,
Yeah.
right? And especially with Dataverse, what you want to do is give it a singular name for the database table, because what it's going to do is going to come up with a plural name. It's going to suggest a plural name. Planner tasks, that's fine. And then for the primary column, I always leave this name column alone, but I don't want to make it required. Let's set that as optional. And I'm going to set that to 255 to no, I
Can
think
I
I'm
can I ask a question with that with the primary column?
absolutely.
So assuming can we use something like a social security number as the primary column? What do you think?
You could, and a lot of database people would probably do that. Like, oh, that's a unique piece of information.
Yeah.
I always like to use the same IDs for everything, and I've heard the name surrogate key being used all the time, like for an auto number, an identity, which is an auto number. Um, SharePoint uses an auto number, an ID. Dataverse has their own way of creating a primary key. And what this is, the Dataverse database is actually a SQL Server database underneath the scenes. And then it has features built on top of it to make it, in my opinion, more easy to use by citizen developers. Okay. So it's not really obvious that it's going to create a primary key for us, and it's going to be a unique identifier, which is code for a GUID, GUID, globally unique identifier. And so we could take a look at that if you guys want to take a look at that. But that is actually the primary key. And this name here is just a way to, it's sort of like SharePoint. When SharePoint creates a title, it makes that required and wants you to use that sort of as the main column to identify the data that's contained in it. So in this case, I just go ahead. I don't modify this. I know every table is going to have a name. If it's a SharePoint project, I know every SharePoint list is going to have a title. And sometimes I just try to put useful information in there, but nothing that's really not found somewhere else. Okay, for example, if this was going to hold employees, the name, I would probably put their first and their last name in there together. Now, I would also have a first and last name, a first name column and a last name column that would be separate. And that allows us to follow along with it and adhere to database normalization rules.
Yeah.
So you typically don't want more than one piece of information in each field, and you don't want things repeating. So anyway, yeah, you could use social security number. Now, my main concern with social security number is usually there's laws around a social security number.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to encrypt it. Well, that right there is going to tell me that, well, that's not going to be a good key if I have to encrypt the field. You know what I mean? In order for something to actually see or sort it or search inside of it, that type of thing. So me personally, I wouldn't use any other like real data as the ID. Yeah. Now that doesn't mean you couldn't create a social security number field and index it so you could easily search for it.
Yeah.
But me personally, I wouldn't. A lot of times in training material for relational databases, like, oh, think of something that's unique. So if you're managing cars, well, you have a VIN, a vehicle identification number. But I don't like to do that. And sometimes people will make a compound key. We'll take their first and their last name. Well, what if there's two John Smiths? Well, let's put on their date of birth. It's like, why not just make it all simple and use something like an ID or this GUID for everything. So that's what I suggest. That's what I always do myself. Kurt, do you have any thoughts on that? I know you've taught me a lot about databases, over the years.
Yeah.
Anything
Social security numbers are terrible to use because of that. You just spoke of that. It's, a person's identity could get stolen that way. I remember I worked at a college, and that they used to do that. For years that's what they did, and they ended up getting in trouble over it eventually. And I remember we would talk about that and say, "Man, that's dangerous, isn't it?" No, it's okay, it's okay. No, don't do it. Sometimes people use like a date of birth, name and a date of birth in there, but I love using the name column. You actually taught me how to do that, Darren. And I thought that was a really slick way, because sometimes in reporting, you just need some information really quick. Or if you're going to do a certain sort, it just saves you so much time. Right. So I don't want to take too much time on that, because we've got a lot of work to do in a little amount of time to get it done. So
yeah. Patty Love says, believe it or not, the title column is no longer required in SharePoint list. Okay, very good.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's interesting. They changed that about a month ago. Microsoft's always changing stuff up on us, aren't they?
They are.
So what I did was I clicked on columns, and here's all the columns that Dataverse creates for us. Quite a bit here, right? So the primary key, if you look at the name of our table, is planner task. Well, let's go look for a column called planner task. There it is right there. Okay. And that is going to be our primary key. And you see it's a unique identifier. Okay.
Can I just interject something really quick right there, Darren? Just real quick.
Sure.
Okay. So that going back to that name, that planner task name, then that's a GUID. It's an identifier. That's actually an identifier that's going to identify the record too within that. So when you're doing lookups, remember that to use the table name in your lookups. It's always going to be, when you're doing a lookup, you're going to be lookup dot that name, and that's going to give you the record. Just wanted to put that in there. It's a really important GUID.
Yeah, very good. Absolutely. Let's see here. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, while we build our application, I'm trying to think of columns we absolutely need. So we probably need a time that it needs to be happen on, right? So let's do start time, and we'll make this a date and time. Save. New column and time. Date and time. Okay. We probably want to know if it's completed or not. And usually with a task, you've got at least 3 states, right? So we've got, well, maybe more. Hasn't been started on yet. It's been started. It's
ongoing. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe you're waiting on something.
Yeah.
So in that case, I think I would want just a single line of text. I don't like choice columns. I don't like them for SharePoint, and I don't like them for Dataverse. Something else that you'll notice within Dataverse is, at least it's been this way for quite a while, there's no real good way of creating a Boolean yes, no, true, false type of column. Now, how you accomplish it is with a choice yes, no. And you're thinking, okay, well, that's the way to do it. Well, it creates a choice. So it's not really true or false. You've got yes and no, and you could add maybe in there. And I just don't think it's a good type of column to create. And a lot of these things, like you see currency, and then up here in text, we've got all kinds of email, phone number. These types it's important to choose these types for if you're building a model-driven application. This isn't going to have any bearing for our Canvas application. So I thought I'd mention that in case this is the first time you guys are seeing Dataverse, okay? So I'm going to put in here status, and we're going to leave this a single line of text, and we're going to define our own set of values, probably within our Power Apps application. I don't think those statuses will change very often. So I feel confident in creating sort of like a static array um, of items like started, um, finished, completed. Well, finished, completed would be the same, but we just listed a few. So we got status. I'm going to click save, maybe even priority. And we might want to change colors of the task if it's, the priority is high, medium, or low. And I'm going to handle it the same way, single line of text. Is there any other column, David or Kurt, that we absolutely need for this MVP?
Maybe task details or task title, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably going to use name for like the short description.
Yeah.
So should we just call it description?
Yeah.
Maybe you need to have a notes field in there too for the task, like because you might need a longer amount of words than just the description. So if you could have like a comments or a notes field in that to be able to pull up.
Would you say that would be the same thing, or the description is the description of what needs to be done, and then the notes are maybe notes as the task is being worked on?
Yeah, two things.
Yeah.
So I think in both cases, let's use text area, and I think I might need to zoom out a little bit to see all the options that it has here for me. So you have text and text area. I know you've got more space with text area, but if I say text and I go down to advanced options, and right now it's giving me 100 characters to have in that field. So if I type in a bunch of 9s and hit tab, it's going to tell me that I can't do that, and the upper max is 4,000. Okay, so I'm going to put 4,000 there. Hopefully that's good enough for a description.
Yeah.
And I'm going to click save. Okay, and then we'll also add notes.
Yeah, see, I guess I was thinking the description would be like a single line of text that you would use like in your pop-ups and drop downs and stuff, and it would just be like a one line thing, and then the notes would be like a long thing of it, maybe.
Okay, so for notes, let's make this a little bigger. Instead of single line of text, let's make this text area. And I think when we say text area, we can have even more space in here. So I'm going to type in a bunch of 9s. No, it's still 4,000. Instead of single line of text, it would be, you see down here, it says multiple lines of text than plain text.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to select that. And now I'm going to hit a bunch of 9s. And you see we have a lot more space there. And I think 4,000 should be good enough. Would you think, guys?
At least for this morning.
Yeah.
Or today. We're not
So
going to get.
I have a question about that, right?
Sure.
Is it possible that you can, let's say, maybe come back later or like 2 weeks later and be like, okay, maybe instead of 4,000, let's say I'll change it to 5,000. Is it possible after creating it?
Yeah, it is.
I hope so.
A lot of times you can't change the type. So once let's say you set up as a number, and especially once you have some records in there, it was a number and you want to change it to a text or vice versa, it's not going to allow you to. So if you think there's a possibility that you might have a lot of text, then make sure you do that multiple lines of text where you've got more items. Because if you do single line of text, the most you're ever going to be able to put in single line of text is 4,000? Yeah, 4,000. So if you think it might be more than that, I would make sure it starts off with multiple lines.
Yeah.
And just want to keep an eye on that.
You can change your rules in there, but you can't change the type, and you can't change the name. If you do that, you're going to have problems.
Yeah.
Okay. So
probably a lookup column for employees, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let me see here. I might already have a table that we can use so we don't have to create one from scratch.
Yeah.
I'm going to go into my students, and I'm pretty sure this is all test data. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know about that. So I started one here, and we had a prefix of well, what was our prefix that we were using?
A planner task.
Yeah, planner task. Okay, so we'll say planner staff. And I always like the word staff over employee because you might have some people working at an organization. They're not really an employee. Maybe they're contractors or maybe they're a volunteer. You know what I mean? So, planner staff. Here we go. So, columns that we need for this. Let's go and add a new column. First name, and I don't want to put any spaces in my column names, right? There's first name.
So I just want to while you're doing that real quick, I just want to say that David comes to us from Reykjavik. I just think that's great. Reykjavik. So what's the weather like there right now?
Right now it's -2 degrees and the ground is slippery.
The ground is slippery.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Solid ice.
Wow.
It's easy to fall now at this time of the year.
I bet. Now you're not close to those volcanoes. I heard there was a lot of volcanoes going off up there, or up there, over and up there.
Yeah.
Are you close to that?
Fortunately, I'm not close, and
Okay.
it's happened in a peninsula, close to the airport though,
Okay.
but not that close. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, and I think it tore a hole like the most recent one tore like a hole right in the center of town, and it was kind of really amazing to see if you if
I
you
bet
are
it's
like
scary,
a
man.
safe distance.
Sounds like a scary movie going off there.
Yeah, they had to evacuate everyone from the town,
Yeah.
literally everyone.
Okay.
All right, so I've got a little bit of data. So I've just got first, last name, and email. Is there any reason to add any more columns just for this MVP?
Not really, not really.
Okay. All right. So let's do what you suggested, David. Let's go back over to planner tasks and create that lookup. So we'll go into the table. We'll create a new column. And I'm going to call this staff lookup. And instead of single line of text, what I'm going to do is do a lookup. And I'm going to go look for planner. We got a lot of tables here.
Yeah.
Nope, I didn't mean to click on that one.
So Darren, if I may ask, so the reason why I was talking about the lookup is that we need to see who was assigned what. That's the main reason why I was talking about the lookup. Is my assumption correct?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You gotta have it.
Absolutely. So I'm here with planner staff. I need to make sure that I'm in planner task. And you want to create the column that's a lookup on the many side. So really what we have here is a one-to-many relationship, right, guys?
Yeah.
So what you want to do is go into the many. So one person, let's say John Doe, he could have multiple tasks. Can one task be assigned to multiple people? I would say for this MVP, no. But if it could, a task could have multiple people assigned to it, and then a person could have multiple tasks assigned to them. Well, we'd have a many-to-many relationship, and we would need to set this up differently.
Yeah.
Okay. But in this case, it's going to be a simple one-to-many, and I'm going to add a new column. Now, as I was just saying before, we need to have Staff, lookup. Here's a lookup. Related table. Here's our planner task.
Yeah, I think it was planner task.
Well, we're currently in that table. I'm trying to create the staff lookup to the planner staff.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm not able to do that, which is very weird. So this is comes along with the joys of doing live streams. Is sometimes things don't happen the way you intend while you're in the middle of it. So if you guys are trying to learn Power Apps, you're working on a project and things just aren't all smooth. You notice things don't go smooth for me all the time. All right, so I'm going to go back in the planner task. Okay, and I'm going to create a new column here. Lookup. Now we could call this assign to if we wanted to. Lookup table. I don't see it. Kurt, what do you think?
Darren, a while ago you were in planner staff table, right?
Yeah, I'm in planner task,
No,
and I'm trying to have a field that will do a lookup to a staff member.
Yeah. Before this, you were in planner staff. What were you doing? Like, what was your thought process behind that while you were in planner staff a while ago?
Okay, so let's create an ERD diagram for this. So
Yeah,
we've
that's
got staff, and let's just say at least we've got a name. We got first name, last name, all that type of stuff. Let's create another table for tasks.
What I miss?
You missed everything, Kurt.
Oh.
I needed your help.
Well, I didn't have volcanoes going off in here, but it was, there was a little bit of emergencies going on, so I had to take care of
Okay, you're excused then, I guess.
Okay.
So here in the task, what I want to do is we'll say staff lookup. Okay, and I want to do something like this, and I want it a one-to-many relationship. So one staff member could have multiple tasks there. So that's what I'm trying to do. Over here in the tasks table, I'm trying to create a lookup that will do a lookup or do a reference to the staff table.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Kurt, either I'm not thinking about something right. Maybe I'm having a brain fart.
Okay, so you have two tables, planner task, right? And you want that to go to planner staff. So you want to do a lookup of the planner staff.
Yeah. So you guys see that I'm in planner task here where I'm circling my cursor, and I've created a staff lookup here.
Okay.
And down here in the related table, I'm going over here. Now, the planner staff was the last table I created, and maybe it needs a minute or two to actually populate this drop-down list with the new one.
Yes.
But I do not see planner staff. You see that?
Did you? Wow. Huh. Okay. So maybe do a refresh, or maybe did you save it? Or?
Pretty sure. So let's go back to all of our tables here, and I will do a refresh here in a moment. But just to sort of show you, each click I'm expecting it to do a page refresh, but maybe it's got a single page architecture where it's not doing a full round trip. Okay, so we've got
there they are, planner
task and planner staff. Let's go into planner staff and verify. Okay, So we've got 2 staff members here on the table.
Yep.
And I thought we had 3, but we got 2 now.
Okay.
Okay, so it's there.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
there.
So I'm going to hit F5 on my keyboard, and it's going to do a refresh. Okay.
It might have taken, like you said, sometimes Microsoft takes a minute to propagate, right? So
Yeah. So I'll
There they
go
go.
into task. There. Get a new column. And
it only does this stuff because it knows you're trying to hurry up and get things done within a certain amount.
people are watching me. People are watching me type. That's what's going on.
Look, you do wonderful at that. I tell people,
Yeah.
I can talk in front of millions. It doesn't bother me. But if one person's watching me type, I can't do it. I just can't. I can't do it. I don't know why.
Oh, there it
Now
is.
now we got it. Look at that, guys. Yay. Okay, I'm going to hit save. Shoo.
Yeah.
Glad it worked. It needed the refresh, I guess, because I hit
Yeah.
F5 and finally got it.
Or it just needed a moment. One of the two. It needed a moment.
Sometimes we just need a moment, right?
Sometimes we just need a moment. Rick would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't you agree with that, Rick? Sometimes we just need a moment.
The say is saved.
The say is saved.
Yes.
Huh? Rick needed a moment. Rick, that was one of those moments where it proves that we needed a moment. Okay.
So I'm gonna put a task 1 here. I'm gonna assign it to Darren. So at least we got one thing in there, right?
Which goes against everything that he believes in.
Yeah. All right. So now it's time to start building our application here, don't you think?
Absolutely.
So typically I start with my Jumpstart kit. I think I'll just start with a scratch one here. Now this has become more complicated. It's become more complicated because they keep changing stuff on us. A new app. I don't want to start with Copilot. We could start with data, but it's going to try to generate a whole app based on one table, and we have more than one table.
I always just go to create. On the left side. I just go to the left side and hit create.
And that does it.
Yeah.
So what I was about to do is hit start with a page design, and then I do a blank canvas. That's what I
that'll
do.
work.
But what you're saying is click create and hit blank app. Is that what you do?
Yeah.
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 Oh, now we got more choices.
Then Canvas app. Of course, the other things don't exist to me.
Planner. Planner board is what I'm going to call mine. Click create. All right, that came up pretty quick. Okay. So just to refresh, this is what we're going for. Okay. And what I am going to do, I'm going to hit F11 to go full screen on this. And so here we've got people at the top. Okay. We got Kurt, Darren, David, Jason. And here we got all our time slots. Now, whenever we're creating like a cool dashboard for everybody to look at, and you look at things like the tasks and the people that are assigned, what I try to do when I design an application screen is, could we have like 50 different staff members, David, in your project, or is it only going to be 3 or 4?
Maximum 15, but
Okay.
there's never gonna be like let's say more than 10 at once in a day.
And then some people, other people that might be looking at this, I'm like, well, I actually do have up to 50 or 100. So in that case, wherever I've got a variable amount of possibilities, okay, we could have just 5 employees, we could have 50 or 500. Is I want to have the people going down on the left side and then have the time slots at the top, because the time slots are going to be finite. What are your thoughts on that, David? Does that work for you in your application or your situation?
Yeah, it works for me because you get a chance to see everything from top to bottom. Who is let's say starting work in the morning, goes on top, and who's starting work in the afternoon maybe goes in the middle or something. And probably maybe if we can go even a step further, we can even kind of like take off people, kind of like hide maybe columns of people, who are like closed for the day, and like those who came up later would show on top. That is just an added bonus.
Yeah. Yeah,
Those
absolutely.
are just filters and sort orders right there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
very simple.
So essentially what we want to do is we want to use a gallery. Gallery is like the most flexible control to use in a Canvas Power Apps, right? And you need to make a decision if we're going to do horizontal or vertical. Now, I'd say 95% of the time you're going to want a vertical. It would go down, up and down, vertical. Horizontal is left to right. Most of the time you're going to need a vertical, and as you add more rows, it's just going to go down. People, a lot of times, they don't mind using a scroll bar vertically, but if you make them use a horizontal scroll bar, typically people don't like that too well.
Nobody likes it. Nobody likes it, Darren. Nobody.
So, if you have more of a whichever you're going to have more of is typically the way in which you want to go. So for example, for the staff, I want to make that go downward, and then we've got, let's say 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We just make that the width of the screen. Okay. So if we're going to go down, then we need a vertical gallery. So I'll use a vertical blank gallery. Something else we could do. This might add a little bit of a learning opportunity. We could use a flexible height gallery. What do you guys think of that?
Let's do that, because I don't know how to do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
I want to learn how to do that.
And I've used one before, and it's sort of cool. And a lot of times, sometimes I'm like, I really didn't need the flexible, but so
Yeah,
we'll use.
Why would we need a flexible gallery in this case?
Well, if you look at the site here where we have 8 a.m., 9:30, it goes down, right? So we're going to have people's names here. Let's say I've got Kurt doing 15 things within a 1 hour block, and I might ask him to do that because he's capable. He can do it.
Absolutely, I am. And
So
absolutely,
Kurt's row might be fatter for 8 a.m., right? I might have you doing all kinds of things. I thought you'd like that, Kurt.
sometimes he does that just to see if I can get overwhelmed or not, and I can't.
Let's see what Kurt can do. Well, that's what you did to me as a student over 20 years ago.
I did.
Is you made the labs and the exercises and the exams really hard and say, well, I think Darren's good. Let's see how good Darren is, right?
But I did. Had him walking through town at 2:00 in the morning in the misting rain, contemplating the meaning of life and everything else, trying to get this thing done.
All right, so I'm going to click blank flexible height gallery. Now, if you look at this, if I do, it disappeared on me here. Let's say flex. We have two flexibles. We've got one. I always use blank. I don't like it trying to put controls in there for me because you start taking them out, the ones that you don't need, and then it gives you a bunch of measles, right? What are measles, Kurt?
Little red dots that you guys don't even know about anymore. You young people just don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah, if you ever change something like your data source or something inside of your Power Apps application, you'll see these little red X's everywhere of all the errors. Kurt and I call those measles.
Program's got the measles, man.
All right, so going top down, we are going to pull in a data source, actually the two data sources, right? So we'll click on Add Data, and we're going to look for our two planner. So we do have planner tasks.
So that first thing you put up there, the square right there, that's a flexible gallery.
It is.
Okay.
It is. Now it just says gallery there. You'd think it would tell us exactly what flavor of gallery we have, but it doesn't. So
just for the sake of me, to help me, could you put like FLX gallery or something so that I would know that that's a flexible gallery?
Flex vertical.
There you go.
Is
Thank
that how
you.
you spell vertical?
It
Hopefully
is today. It is today.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you guys some wisdom working with galleries. So you might think, oh, I want all of these data records to be the data source for this. You might think to yourself, okay, I'm going to make this gallery just look at all the tasks because that's what I'm trying to display, right? All the tasks. No. What you want to do is whatever you want to control whether a row is visible or not. Well, we want the rows to go down from top to bottom with all of our staff members. So that's what you should use as your data source. Now, we'll still be working with the tasks data, but we could do a lookup for each of those rows to find all the tasks for, let's say, a cell or a row. Okay. Now, I will caution you guys, you never really want to do a lookup or a filter inside of a a row of a gallery because your application won't scale well. It will be sluggish, but there's a little exception to this where it won't slow it down. And we could have, over time, David, we could probably have hundreds and hundreds of tasks going, from month to month. In 5 years from now, how many tasks could be out there? Hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
thousands.
So what I would want to have happen is here at the top, I would want, let's say the date picker, okay? And it didn't bring it over for me for some reason. All right, there we go. So I'll have this at the top.
I'm not a big fan of modern controls yet, but I love the modern control date picker. I love it. I love it.
You want to use it today?
No, not today. Let's just get this
Okay.
thing done. But I just wanted to make that comment. Well, we could spend all day doing that, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there, saying I really like the date picker of the modern.
I
control.
agree. I really don't like this date picker. In fact, what I typically do, I don't normally change any of the theming up, but this is one change to the theming that I always recommend to people is you go with this light, because any theme, that blue color will clash with a lot of things. And even you go in here, and even though you change themes, there is no property to change this little background color of the day there. That's one of the reasons I don't care for the date picker all that much, because you can't change it. But if you pick that gray, it sort of goes with anything, white, black, and shades of gray, right? Okay, so we've got this, and whenever this is changed, what I want to do on the on-change event is I want to go populate a collection that will be used for this gallery. Okay, so I'm going to do a clear collect. And I'm going to call this call tasks. And I'm going to go get planner tasks. Okay. But it needs to be a filter. We only want to get all the tasks for just one day because we're only going to be looking at a day's worth of tasks. So inside here, we'll say filter. And we do have a what is our we have a start date, right? So
yeah, start date, start time.
There we go. So the start time needs to be greater than, let's see, self dot selected date. Okay, so what is the time of the selected date or today? It's always going to be midnight of that date. So anything that has a start time after midnight, and we also need to make sure that it's only for that day. So we will look at probably the end. We have an end date too, right? End time. Yeah. And we want that to be less than, and we'll say self dot selected date, but then we will do an add date, and we'll add one.
It's date add, I think. Yeah, man, I think it's date add.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't, not trying to get,
Sure. What's the enumerated thing here for the?
it's time unit dot days.
Thank you. That's what I needed there. Date add.
So,
There you go.
and the end
You always
time,
have somebody in the class that's just letting you know. Oh, by the way, Darren, it's a different. No, the functions.
See, what Darren was supposed to do is he was supposed to say, "Thank you, Kurt, for paying attention to my live stream today. Thank you."
What's funny is I remember back in the day, Kurt teaching at the college, and people would correct him on the spelling and stuff, and I'd laugh like, man, people don't realize how hard it is to present and to teach and to think and to code and interact with people and doing everything all at once.
Just get up here. And
I think
try
I'm
it
missing. I think I'm missing a parenthesis there. Why didn't you catch that, Kurt?
Well, I was too focused on the and. You notice that Darren and I, we don't ever just say and. We say and.
That's right.
Teacher got to cheat.
Or. All right, it doesn't like end time.
I don't remember putting end time in there. Did you put end time in there? I just don't remember. And it could just be me.
My typical response is I don't know. I just work here, man. I don't.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So I might need to zoom out a little bit and let's go look for planner task. Okay. So we've got know what I did, Kurt?
See, there it
Put a
is.
space in there.
Would you say you don't like doing it? I don't understand. I don't understand why you did it.
Why did I do it, Kurt? I'm gonna fix it.
I'm disappointed in you, man.
Now, the thing about Dataverse
Very
is
inconsistent.
once you create that column, it will always be in time. Now you notice the schema name and the logical name doesn't have any spaces. So I'm safe, right? What if I just take that little space out and I hit save? Will Power Apps automatically know that I've updated that field? Bueller?
Did you come in it from Power Apps?
Can I change it from Power Apps?
No, did you come into it? Well, I guess you probably couldn't. I don't know.
So just keep in mind, if you do change something in your data source, your SharePoint list columns, your Dataverse columns, even your SQL, if you change it, you need to go into Power Apps and say, listen, you need to refresh this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to know about it.
There it is.
So now I don't have any errors, no measles.
No measles.
So we're going to go in here. We're going to do a clear collect. And we're going to get all the tasks, really for everybody. Okay. And we're going to throw them into this. And how many tasks could be in one day? I would say it's probably definitely under 500. Right?
Yeah.
For one day.
Definitely.
One
day.
If you're worried about it, well, we could go into settings for a Power Apps application and change the default 500 to 2,000. Not 20,000.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and change the day to the 8th. Okay.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go to the 9th and just change it around. What do we have here, guys? So I went in here and this call task should have some data. And it says it's a table. And it didn't find any data. Do we have any tasks? Let's see.
Task one.
You did assign one, but I don't remember you putting a time or date in it. Or you put a time.
Right. Okay. So task one will be.
There you go.
I'm wanting to specify a time, but the end time. Come on. Why don't you give me a calendar like you gave me last time? I don't know.
Well, how fast is that, Darren? How fast is that?
I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say 5 p.m. Doesn't like it. Okay, so we've got a date
So
here.
Darren, I'm not sure, but would date time not cause delegation issues?
No,
I don't think so.
no.
Is there a reason why you think it would?
I think I read it somewhere, but I'm not sure. So I ended up choosing just only the date, not the date
So
and the time.
but if this were me designing this, and it's not, so you can tell me just to stop. But I would like to, if it was me, I would have a start date. I would just have a date, just a date, and then I
Mhm.
would have start time and end time, and have time only fields in there. It would just be
Mhm.
time only setup. If that was Kurt, that's what I would be doing, because it would be easier for me for formatting.
So, David, if you see that anywhere, forward me the article or blog post or whatever you've seen. I'll check it out. I don't believe that
Okay.
you'll get any type of delegation issues at all.
Yeah.
But let me know what you're thinking of, and I'll go review that for you. Question is, let's say we call this time, some type of time,
Mhm.
and let's go in here and say date and time. We have two choices: date and time, and then date only. I do not see time only.
So
Yeah.
the interesting thing is, if we format though, we can put a time only. We can put time in a date time, and it would be just time. It would just show time,
Mhm.
right? But that, if you do a formatting in that, huh? So you got to do it as a date. Okay.
Yeah, so there's going to be a date in there anyway.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so that's why I do it. Now I've created a like an electronics attendance board, and I've done precisely what you just talked about, and it was one of my first applications that I did, and I created a field called day of, and it was just simply a date. Now it probably was midnight in every case, and then I had time as a text field. I'd probably do it the way that I've just done it here, and not the way that I did it as my first app. Made a lot of mistakes, when I created that app, but that's probably
Okay.
one of them. But all right, so I'm going to keep that like that. I'm going to click yes. So we've got 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. both today, and what I need to do is, you might think, oh, I might need to refresh my data. Do you guys think that I might need to refresh my data at this point because I changed data over there?
Yeah, I think so, right?
Yeah. And normally I would think that as well. However, I'm going to make a distinction on something that might help you one day, or it would help you in your general application building here. Okay. And that is this. We've got a variable. This call tasks is not tied to the data right now. It's a separate copy of the data. Okay. So if I add or remove data out of that column, it's not bound to the database. So what am I trying to get at? What I'm trying to get at is, if we change this right now, it's effectively going to go populate that data on that change event, and we don't have to do refresh. What a refresh does is it will go and get all the data. Now we only have one record in there anyway, and here's our one row. Now it went and got it. Have you guys ever felt tempted to use the refresh function within
Yeah, I've
a
used
Power
it
App?
a couple of times actually.
Yeah. So that's generally frowned on. Now, if the schema changes, you're gonna have to go over here and do a refresh. But as far as in getting new data,
Yeah.
if you've got a variable that you go and refresh it, go grab a subset and put it in there. In my mind, that's much better. But so if we've got tasks in here, we've got millions of tasks or hundreds of thousands, and you do a refresh, well, it's just gonna go get the first 2,000 records. And that takes a while. Well, in this case, if we just fire this event, it's going to go do this filter and put it in this. So to keep that in mind, so you could have a dynamic, like you could refresh the data if you're working with a collection there, which I've used many times. Now, something else that I've noticed here, Kurt and I, we've talked about this in the past, but why aren't these other fields populated for us? Well, I don't think we typed in a description. Didn't we assign this to somebody? Yeah, staff lookup. I assigned this task one to myself. Now look at this. Staff lookup, nothing. Why is that, Kurt? You got any ideas?
I do. You gotta
What you
go over there and you gotta go over there and change your settings, because the thing is optimized for for if it thinks you're not using it, which you haven't addressed it in here. Now, if you had have addressed it in here, it probably would have put it in there. In other words, if you would have been looking at that field for some reason, but it goes out there and says, oh, well, you're not using that field, so we're not going to go ahead and put that in there. So, but there's a setting out there that you can turn that optimization off.
Yeah. So how lazy is that of Power Apps? Have you ever heard the term lazy with programming guys, like lazy loading? So let's say we've got 200 columns, and you're trying to pull back the data from this table. Do you want all 100 columns or 200 columns?
Yeah.
Well, you're pulling back.
I think they're doing it because they're trying to make this thing faster somehow, and they're trying to they're trying to increase their load times, right? So they can show that off against all those C++ whippersnappers. They say, well, we can load this as fast as you .NET programmers can.
Yeah.
I used to get go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to only pull back the data that you're referencing inside of your application. Because if you never try to look at the created column or the notes column, then why should we bring that back from Dataverse, right? So that it's a more efficient way. However, in this case, we go get the data and we expect all the data to be there, and then we want to work with it inside this collection, this separate in-memory copy of the data.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do a little test. I just want to say hello with a notify. And let's actually, use this. So I'm going to go to the first record of this, and I'm going to say, let's say that the staff lookup. Let's go look at staff lookup dot name.
That's an interesting way of doing that, Darren. That was good. I like it. It's very creative.
So I'm going to run this, and I'm going to change the date, and hopefully this notify comes up and greets me by name. Hello.
It's blank.
Why is that? Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh.
What? There it is.
Well, okay. So if I go to yesterday, there's no tasks for yesterday because there's no data. But if I go to today, so this is. Go ahead.
So it's using it. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, it finally is. Now, Kurt, if I remember right, we're working on a project where we had a disconnected record set, and we would try to use it later on.
Yeah.
And because it never pulled it back in the first first case, in the first place, it wouldn't have that data there. But I guess maybe Microsoft's always improving this stuff, so maybe they've sort of fixed that. And I appreciate you mentioning this, Kurt, because how we got around this is we went into settings. Do you remember the name of the setting? Because I don't.
I don't. It was something about optimization. And data is king. He just talked about the add columns. That's the way I do it. Whenever I run into that, I'll just do an add columns and wrap that around there and add the sort name or whatever name it is, like the lookup name, and put that in there, and then that makes it work. There it is. Is that it? Yep, that's it. Explicit
column selection. I'll do a control 1. Are you impressed with that, Kurt? My control 1 there.
I am. I think it would be cool though is if you did a control 2 and you could actually do a circle around there and zoom with your wheel.
Oh. Now, how do I do the circle?
Hit control 2 and then now you should be able to do the wheel. You should be able to zoom in with your wheel, right?
And I do red. Oh, okay.
Yeah. See
This
there?
good. The more I use this, the more I'll get used to it. But I wanted a red circle.
There you go. Okay.
There's your property. So if you don't like that this optimization, in the past we turned it off, but now it seems like they've improved it, so we don't have to turn that off. But Data is King says, I like lazy loading in this situation, and also I can use the add columns. I think Kurt, you originally used this add columns function to sort of get around this at one time, right? You found some really cool uses.
I think you were in the middle of talking about this, and I was saying that the Data is King. I was already referencing that. You probably missed. You probably couldn't hear what I was saying, but right. So I would just wrap around the add columns around that call tasks, and say that I was, or the planner task. Yeah, I'm sorry. And I would just put in a name field, just call it name, and then I would bring in that lookup. Yeah, so let's do it that way.
So you would call the column name?
Call it just call it like staff name. Just call it staff name. And then for the comma, then you would just put the lookup dot name. Whatever it is that you were staff lookup dot name.
Look at that.
There it is.
I like that.
And then
so then down.
Yep.
Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, just make sure you put you could do it that way. That'd be cool. And then make sure you put don't you have to, yeah, you got it. I was thinking you needed another right parenthesis in there, but I guess not.
All right, I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna try it out.
You're so much faster than I am.
You make me feel pretty cool. Call me a F-16 fighter pilot.
He is like an F-16 fighter pilot, man.
Talk about me.
Look at that. Look at that work. Do you see that work?
Oh, it works.
That's a genius.
I like it.
And you know the reason. So data is king. So this is it. Now I don't know who came up with that first, you or me, but you may have come up with it. Maybe I didn't, but I certainly made it profound. There it is. How's that?
And if you guys don't know, that is what we call around here a Kurtism.
A Kurtism.
I didn't invent it. I didn't discover it, but I made it profound.
you know, I don't know who did it first. Data is king, me or you, but I certainly made it profound. How's that? How's that?
And he says perfecto. Yeah. All right. So we've got some good data now. Okay, but let's go back to our gallery. What do we need to have here? Well, what we need to going down in this gallery is all the staff members, and some staff rows might have more information. So it's going to be flexible height for each of the rows. Okay. So that's what we use. Planner staffs. Sounds like weird to me,
Yeah,
but now we have some staff members. Let's add in a control to display. Oh, there we are. Look at that. And now what you'll notice for a gallery, let's make sure that our heads aren't covering this up, Kurt. Right now it's 72. This is interesting. Typically I like 50 or 40. Okay. And we might want to make this maybe that wide. Okay. And what makes these rows grow or shrink is really all the different stuff that you have inside here. So if I made a copy of this label, so we've got label 1. Okay, so I'll copy that. For here, for the Y of this label, I'm going to say label 1 dot Y, and then I'm going to say label 1 dot height. Okay. And I hopefully I picked the flexible gallery. How do you know if you got the flexible gallery? Because it's not going to tell you up here. What you'll notice, you see this template size.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you got template padding. If this was a normal vertical gallery, we had to have a third item in between these two, and it would be called what?
Don't remember. I've looked at it a million times and I couldn't tell you. I failed you, Darren.
You have. You have failed me for the last time, Admiral.
David, you should know this, David.
I didn't even know it was there in the first place.
You guys get my reference?
You
have failed me for the last time, Admiral. Darth Vader in Star Wars. All right. So here's a normal gallery. Okay. Look at this. We got template size.
Template size. I knew that, Darren. Golly.
That's how we know that we've got a flexible height. Okay.
Okay.
And I've got another. If we look at our tree view here, we've got these two labels inside, and this one is down below. So I would expect it to sort of be taller, right? And a lot of times what I do with galleries is I give it a nice medium gray color. And then I'll go over to the template fill. And I always like to say if this item dot is selected. Okay, so if I say this item, it gets me to the underlying data, but there's one exception to that rule, and it's this is selected. Do we have a field name called is selected in the database? No, we do not. Is selected is just something, it's sort of like Power Apps goes out there, gets the table structure, does an inheritance or a copy of all the schema, and then adds one more thing to the schema called is selected. If it is selected, we want to say color dot light yellow. That's my favorite color to use for something like this. Otherwise, color dot white. Okay. Oh, look at this.
So that is selected. That's nice, Darren. I like it. So that is, I got to make sure I understand what you were just saying. So that is selected is created by the Dataverse out there, and can we use that, or is that something that's being used?
Is select, yeah, make sure you don't have any fields called is selected, by the way. No, that's something that Power Apps puts in there.
Okay. Yeah, I ran into trouble doing that because I like to have an is selected field. So I had to change that to like has selected or was selected, you know? Yeah. You're right. I love to have is selected in all my tables.
So this is interesting. In the design mode, there how many different times do we have? I remember this back in the day, Kurt, when you were teaching Visual Basic, you were teaching us how to write our own ActiveX controls, right? Mm-hmm. You got design time, runtime, and those were really important, right? Yep. Well, here in Power Apps, a flexible height doesn't, I think what it is the first record. Never looks right on a flexible height gallery until you run it. And then you guys notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so it was freaking me out a little bit. I'm like, oh my goodness, this flexible height is supposed to be based on what's in there. At least that's what I just told everybody. And here it is. The first record isn't displaying right until I hit play, and then it shaped up. I'm going to show you something else here. I'm going to put in a slider. Hopefully it will not be created inside the gallery. There's one at the top here. And what I want to do is minimum 0, max. Let's make that. Well, what's the height of our gallery? Max, let's say the height of the gallery. And then for this little label in here that we want to move around, what we'll do is we will, let's change the height of this label to be whatever we pick in this slider. Slider.value. That's going to give us the numeric value there. So if I run this, look at that. So there's some cool stuff that you can do here. So, I mean, it could be really tall, you know. And there's some cases, I've built applications for some clients where they're like, oh, well, I want more information to be seen. And I would maybe put a checkbox up here. And if it's checked, then I want it to be like 500 because I've got all the record data there. But if they uncheck it, it just goes back to normal. So you could do something like that. Now for the Y property, I'll go in here and put 0 there. Okay. And around it there. So we see that we have a working flexible height gallery. Now for this second label, I really don't want anything to be displayed in here right now. So I'll just do 2 double quotes. Okay. Now what I'm wondering is, does it still work? And it does. Okay. Even though there's nothing in there, we've got a control, a label that's taken up, some space. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is we want to use that collection that we had, and we want to string it across. Now, here's a question. Do we use a nested gallery, or do we just sort of wing it here? Okay, so
that's what I was thinking, is that we're going to have a nested gallery with the hours, the time
Mhm.
slots in there. But then I didn't know how to do the scrolling across, like your heading. You're going to have 8 o'clock until 8 o'clock a.m. I didn't know how to do that. So that's what I was actually thinking. I was interested in seeing what you were going to do with that.
Yeah. Well, let's create a header at the top, and I'll sort of step you guys through how I would do this. So let's use a container. I was about to use a shape for the header, which is what I'm used to, but I need to get more in the habit of using containers for stuff like this. Okay, so I'll put it right there.
I'm going to step away for just a second, guys. I'll be right back.
Okay. And I'm going to go back to our little screenshot, and we start at 8 a.m. And then, David, when does your workday end? Is it 5 p.m.? I think you might be muted. I don't hear anything from you.
It starts 8 a.m.
Yeah, 8 a.m.
today and ends 8 a.m. the next day. So it's kind of
Okay.
like a 24-hour sort of.
A 24-hour. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I was wondering how it would
So
look
even
like.
though we've got today selected, it's actually today and tomorrow, right? Because you could go
Yeah.
from midnight to all the way to 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our users will know whatever they select here will be the 8 a.m. It actually includes 2 days worth, but or 24 hours starting at 8 a.m. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible, and I'm going to just say 8 a.m. right there. Okay. And let's make this a little less wide, maybe 80 there. Okay. And just based on that information, I'm sort of processing in my head how I'll do this for 24 hours. Okay. I'm going to take another label here and put 8 a.m. there. And I'm going to take another one. What is, well, we got 8 p.m. is really what we have here. And maybe we should have some stuff in the middle. Okay, so we got noon.
But of course, not everyone starts at 8 a.m. and ends at, like, it's not, no one starts at 8 a.m. and ends at 8 a.m. It's kind of like shifts.
They have
So
different shifts.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. All right. So right now I'm using Kurt's TLAR method of spacing out these controls. And we
TLAR
might.
method.
What's that stand for?
What's that?
Scientific. It's a scientific acronym. The government uses it all the time. NASA uses it. All these. It's true rocket science.
Rocket surgery is what I've heard.
What is it? Does anybody know what that TLAR is?
Inquiring minds want to know.
Anybody out there know what TLAR is?
Anybody? Bueller?
Okay, everybody gives up. It's that looks about right. That highly scientific. That looks about right. You know, so you stick your thumb out there. Yeah, it's about right.
All right. I'm thinking about how I want to implement this, and I'm thinking I might need to put a nested gallery in there
And that's what I was thinking. Yeah, because then that way you can have slots for each time, right? Yeah. And so I was actually thinking about having like the people side of it would actually have. I don't even know where I want to go with that. Never mind on that one. We'll talk about that in just a minute. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's get the times in there first.
Yeah.
I've got a pretty cool. I was actually using a collection of times. The collection just to have my time stored in there.
Well, I've got a collection.
You do?
That's what I'm using. Yeah.
For
I
time?
create the collection right here. You don't remember that?
Right. That okay, you got your tasks. Yeah.
So this collection will have, of course, I need to filter it. Filter that based on the, you know what? I should probably use staff lookup, right? Dot planner staff, where that equals this item dot planner staff. Okay. So we're going to get all of the tasks for that person by doing just that. And let's put in a label here. There we go. And I'm going to give a border here so we can see what we're working with. Okay. And inside this, we don't want description. I want the name. Okay. Now, if I go over to the data and I look at tasks, I have task 1. Okay. Now the question is, did it go get it? Because we weren't referencing anything on the task name, it probably didn't go get that data because it was being lazy. It was doing the lazy loading. But now that I have it referenced, it's going to go get it this time. Now, is that where it should go?
It says starts at 8 a.m., ends at 11 a.m.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of a border there so I can see where it starts and stops. And then what I'm going to do I don't know if horizontal is the best choice for this.
So
Can I say something about the tasks, right? I think looking at what you're doing, I think it's a positioning sort of issue, right? Because if it's starting at 8 a.m. ending at 11 p.m., maybe the next task will start at 12 p.m. and end at 1 p.m. So, like, how are we going to position something like that? You know?
Yeah, there's a thought process I'm going through now, and let me sort of follow this through, and then we can circle back on that in just a moment. So let me go to items. This is like so I'm a visual processor. Sometimes it takes me an opportunity to sort of see it, and then I realize maybe something wasn't a good idea, and then I change it. So I'm thinking maybe a vertical gallery as the sub gallery, and then let me add in a label here. Yeah, and then I'm going to say name. Okay, now what I'm going to do on this label is I'm going to change the X based on the time. Okay. So if I say start time, okay, 8 a.m. will be 0. And then 7 a.m. the next day will be, this is math. This is where math is important, guys. Start time. I'm going to say date add. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 8 hours just to make it easier to work with. Time units, hours. So now I'm working with 0 to 24. And I'm going to open up Notepad. And my eyes glazed over. That's right. All right, guys. So this is what we have. We have 24 hours in a day. So we're going to display 24 hours going across this gallery. Okay. And
So
you know how in algebra go ahead.
Okay, so you got your width, you got to get your maximum width across. If you're going to do it this way, this is way different than what I had envisioned. But you take your width going across, and you're going to divide that by the number of slots you got. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slots there. So you're going to divide that by 5, right? That gives you how many slots you got across there for your times.
Yeah. Do we want these things to, let's say, if it's at 8:30, do we want it to be moved over a little left, even though it's not 9 a.m.?
Yeah, maybe so.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're going to do it this way, I was actually just going to do columns for each time slot. So so this is certainly different.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys ever notice this? Sometimes with power ups, these things disappear. You guys ever have that problem? Do you see how these things over here, like I'm expecting a menu to be here. Does that only happen to me? Maybe so. I guess so. There we go. Now it's back. All right. So these are the items. And do we have a label inside here? We do. There is that label, and here is that label. Let me put a 24 more of a border there. Okay. There it is. Hey, don't I see this? And it says task 1. Am I going crazy or what here? So there's the label. So maybe I messed up one of the properties. Yeah, the X is all crazy. For right now, I'm just going to say 0. Very good. And I can get rid of this one. And I'm going to make this width. We have 24 hours. And the whole width of this gallery 4, I'm going to put in a label. So we had 870 there. And I want to know how many hours in. Okay, which that should give me that. We'll multiply that by parent.template width. I didn't spell parent right. Divided by 24. Right? So that will give us, 0. Okay. So if it's 8 a.m., it's going to be 0. And if it's 12 p.m., it should give us 2. Okay. I'm going to get rid of this gallery, and I'm going to move this guy up. This guy over a little bit. Take up the full width there. And then what I'm going to do, instead of messing around with this slider we had in there, and instead of having this weird label down below, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to make the width of the, the height of the gallery to be self.all items. And we're going to do a count. And well, we just had a count, didn't we? All items count times 50, 60. Okay, now if I run this, that's looking good. Okay. And then the template size, what I'll do is I'll say, actually I want to change it based on the label. So label, the height of the label, I want that to be parent.template height. Okay. That's not what I was thinking there. So what I want to do over here in the data is I want to create a task to. And we'll make this one at, if I can get this date picker to come up. All right, 12/9/23, and I'm going to say 2 p.m. Of course, it does not like that. And it won't allow me to get in there. There we go. Okay. Maybe it's going to require that we've got a colon. Okay, end time. Well, I'm going to copy that. Very frustrating. It's not very easy to get in here and do this. Come on.
Yeah, the
There
interesting
we
thing
go.
is the date picker in a form, if you were to use a form, it's got a time picker in it too.
But it's military time.
Right. Right.
Who uses military time? Military people
Military.
and other countries. Okay, so we got a 2 to 4. Okay, now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to open this up and I'm going to change the day. I'm going to go back to today. I got a task 1 and task 2. Okay, and they're on different lines, which is what I was trying to do. Another thing that we might want to do with this collection for this gallery here. Gallery 4, let me zoom in so everything's not so small. Okay. And for this nested gallery, for the data source, we've done a filter. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to format the text to make my code look a little better. I'm going to say sort. Start time. Ascending. Sort order dot ascending. Okay. There we go. So we got task 1 and task 2.
Very nice.
So they should, show up as they go. And it's sort of in the right spot, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So
Genius.
Is that everything right? Okay. I think I might take the border off of this because it's making some weird things happen here visually. Okay. I'm about to do something, and Kurt, you're going to hit me over the head if you were close enough to hit me. Guess what I'm going to do? I guess what I'll do before I do what I'm thinking is I'm going to give you guys the time to comment, ask questions, because I knew there for a bit. I sort of
you
blocked you guys off because I couldn't think and listen to you guys at the same time.
Well, I
So
would
let me
like you to. I'm sorry, Darren. I would like you to go through and explain exactly where you have what and what you did, because you go through what you did again, because that was the heart of this whole thing, and you just kind of went kind of fast because you were just doing it in your head instead of talking. So maybe if you could just kind of demonstrate it a little bit.
Absolutely. So on the outer gallery, we're looking at all the staff, okay, the employees.
And is there any way you could zoom in just a little bit? I'm sorry to interrupt again. Could you zoom in just a little bit there?
Sure. On the canvas or the browser or what? What do you?
The whole thing. Bring it up a little bit. There you go.
Okay, that looks good. Or you want me to zoom in?
It's good for me. Hopefully everybody else can see it. There you go. That's beautiful.
Control-0. Okay, so we have staff, and then we've got this nested gallery, and we should probably give this a good name. Gal tasks. Okay. And inside this task, we're going to utilize that collection that we populated whenever this date changes. Now, if this screen loads up, this collection probably won't be there. Okay. So we probably want to take this and put it also in the screen on visible before I forget about it. And instead of, well, we could just do like a date value on now, okay, instead of this self.selected date, since we're not inside that control anymore. Okay, so I want to take care of that. So we have a heading up here going from 8 a.m. all the way to the 8 a.m. of the next day. Okay, so inside this nested gallery, what I did for the items, I'm using that collection that we set up. And for this particular row, okay, we only want to display the tasks that are the parent gallery's item, its data source. Okay, so that's how we do that with this item. And it's sort of weird using this item in a gallery's item property. Normally that doesn't work, but it does work, and it is necessary if you're working with nested galleries.
Okay, that's good.
And that has stumped me for hours at a time, guys. And even I don't use nested galleries all that often, and I figured it out the first time. The second time I did it, it stumped me for hours. Like, how do I get it? I'm like, parent.data source. No, you got to say this item.
It's got to be this item, and that's in your nested gallery, right?
No, that's in the parent. If you say this item in the nested gallery and its data source,
that won't work.
In order to look at the parent data, you got to say this item.
Okay. So this item is the parent data. Got it.
Yeah. But you see how that can mess you up though, right?
Right.
Typically use this item for the gallery that you're currently in.
Right.
Well, that happens if you're inside the template of the gallery. We're not in the template of the gallery. We're in the data source of the gallery.
So put this into a nested for all. It would be like the top for all would be like as my, your data source as my, and then addressing the top table in the for all, you would say my dot inside your nested for all. I think that made that way complex, didn't it? So,
If
so
we,
inside your nested for all, you're going to address the outer one by saying my dot, for your data source. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's
All right. So, is there anything in this that I should go over in more detail? And I should probably zoom in more because there we go. So there's our code. So this filter will only give us Darren's tasks if we're on the Darren row. And I'm going to sort it by the start time. So it's almost going to look like a Gantt chart. You guys familiar with Gantt charts? Like as things go, they're going to go diagonal. Okay.
yeah.
And Data is King says, I guess you can't have two tasks assigned at the same time. Sure you can. Yeah. And so let's actually work through that example. And then Jad says, these live, can you use A's FX in Nest Gallery to make it easier to read? I'm not sure if I understand that. Kurt, do you understand that?
I think talking about the as, like similar to doing the data source as my. So for all columns, or for all in your data source as my, the way how you do as
Okay.
my. I think that's what they're talking about.
Okay, very good.
That's what I was trying to explain in there. It's the same thing. Using this item would be the same thing as using a my and as statement up there. But before you go into the thing to demonstrate how you can have two at the same time, let's go over your formula that does the actual magic of the sliding, the placement.
Okay, for the label in there. Okay, very good.
Yeah, let's make sure we go that because we're already there. So,
label there. Okay, and the magic happens on the X. Okay,
right on the X.
So we have the start time, and I subtract 8 from it. Now, why would I subtract 8? Any ideas, guys? Why would I subtract 8 from the start time? Because 8 is the very beginning of their day. Their day starts at 8 and ends at 8 p.m. So if it says 8 a.m., the X, I want to be 0. I want it to be the very left. Otherwise, we'd have like this 8 spaces in there, but our day starts at 8. So our 8 a.m. is actually 0. Almost like a midnight of the day, people have calendar day. Like, is your year a calendar year, or is it a fiscal year? Sometimes people's year starts in July. So it's sort of like the situation. Their day does not start at midnight; it starts at 8 a.m. So I'm going to subtract that 8, and I'm going to use math to make it. Back in VB, it was called left. How much left of the side? But here in Power Apps, it's called X, the X coordinate. Okay.
So the minus 8 is to give you a 0 value. Then the minus 8 is to give you a 0 value on the X coordinate.
Yeah,
that's good. I did. I never would have thought of that, doing it that way. That's pretty smooth, man.
Yeah. So if you start at 8 a.m., it's going to be right at the very left with an X of 0. Okay. Now, why do I need to, what is this? Well, I take the template width of the parent. Okay. Now we're inside. Yeah, we're in a label, and I say parent. Now that gets to which gallery? The parent gallery or the child gallery? Well, we're inside a label in the nested gallery. So if we say parent, it's actually going to get us to the nested gallery or the child gallery. Okay. And we're going to get the template width of that. Now remember, up here at the top, I put a label at the top. Did I already delete it? No, it's right here. Okay. This thing right here is gallery tasks, which is the nested one, dot width. So we got about 1,000. But what if we change that to be a little wider, or I click on this gallery and I do something like this? Well, I want everything to sort of work, even if I tweak the width of this thing. So I don't want a static value of 1,000 in there. So what I want to do is I take the template width and I divide it by 20. Now, why would I divide that by 24? The whole width. So let's say we got like 1,000. That's the whole width of our day, 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. Why would I divide that by 24? That gives us 24 hours in a day.
because
I
that's
think
going
you want to display the whole day on one page, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we got something scheduled for 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, that should be almost to the very end of around 1,000 pixels. So we subtract 8 and then 7. So if that was 7 a.m., we would get minus 8. That would give us sort of like an 11 p.m. And then we multiply 11. Well, the PM is we also add 12 to it because we're thinking in 24 hours, not 12 hours. So that would be
23.
23. Yeah.
Times the parent. Yep.
Yeah. So let's go in here and actually try that out. So I'm going to go in here. Oh my goodness, I hate this. So what I was going to do, Kurt, and I told you you're going to slap me for this. Are you ready? I'm going to add a form. Do I like forms or what, Kurt?
He just wants that time picker. He wants the time picker.
What's my data source?
That's the equivalent of lazy loading.
Well, do we want this? Do we want to add 30 minutes of creating a nice looking individual control screen form entry, right? I normally don't use forms, guys, but it isn't the point of creating an edit screen. Isn't the point of the video. The main point of the video is to create that other screen. So I just want something that'll allow me to do this real quick. So I want the name in there. Why not the notes? We're going to have a description. We got the end time. We've got priority. That needs to be in there. Status, start time, staff lookup. Now, status and status reason. See, this is what I don't like about Dataverse. It creates a status for us, and it's like it's either active or whatever. We need to change the field name of that because it's going to clash. And we use status, and Power Apps are like, okay, what status do you want? This one or this one? So I'm going to go in here and change that because it's going to cause us problems. So I'll go into columns here, and then we'll go for this status. And I'm going to make this task status. And I'm going to go add that one. They should all appear here. We've already got measles. I'm going to refresh so it's got the good schema information. Okay. Start time, end time. And by doing that refresh, it looks like it fixed it. I'm going to add a button to save down here at the bottom. I'll copy and paste that. Nope, didn't want to do that. Click on the button, copy and paste. We probably want to cancel in here. Okay. And the save button, I want this to do a submit form. The cancel, I just want it to go back. Okay. And then from screen 1, what should we do here? We should probably add an edit icon, perhaps, and put it right there at the end. Now, if they click on this icon, what we're going to do is we're going to say navigate to screen 2. And Kurt, if you don't mind keeping an eye on the comments and the private chat, just in case if anybody's asking a question that's pertinent to what I'm doing, I want to make sure that we're responding to those.
Yeah, Data is King says, can you show how a person assign a date and time to a task for an employee so that the time can be displayed on the task screen, which is exactly what you're doing at this moment. So
let's add in here. Okay, so we're doing, before we navigate over there, what I want to do is say edit form, which is a function working with forms to put it into edit mode. Okay. I'm going to add a new icon up here for add.
Jad Figueroa asked, just to get back to the conversation we were having about the this item. He's saying, he's asking, I need to use this item as a reference to it. Yeah, to your parent gallery. That's correct. And it would be it would be just like using the as in your for all that you were mentioning. But this item will be what you need to use, I think. Now you might be able to no, you won't. You got to use this item in that, I think. And then Bagarv Patel, I hope I'm not chopping your name up terribly. I have been using the word stage to show record status and avoiding confusing it with the default status field. Okay.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Now, what I just changed, just in case you guys weren't watching me, what I was doing there, I set it up so if I clicked on this label, it will just go to this edit. Now, this isn't looking the way that I wanted it to. Let's actually pass the reference of the record into this screen. How do we do that? Well, we do that in the navigate. Okay. I'm going to get rid of that little edit there. Okay. And screen transition. And Kurt, you like the cover. I'm going to use your favorite there, cover. And we'll use little curly brackets, and we'll pass over a local variable, and we'll call it record.
It's cover right, by the way.
Oh.
You don't know me at all. He just keeps hurting.
All right, cover right.
Just keeps hurting my feelings today.
Why isn't this working? Why is it saying that? Well, what we need to do for this form, I don't use forms all that often. Item. There's an item property, and we need to use that variable, loc record, and then it will know which one to use. There we go. Task 1. Okay. Darren's task 1. This task is really easy, I tell you. So we're going to go from, I don't like the order. I want the start time to be before the end time. That would make sense to you, right?
It does make sense to some people anyway.
Let's go with 2 columns. Okay. The staff lookup seems like that would probably be maybe the most important thing. You got the name, description, notes. I probably want the description and the notes to be at the bottom. Start time will be up there.
I can see why a lot of people want to use forms right away, because it does make things just really easy, doesn't it?
You get something working within like a minute or 2, right?
Yeah, it is kind of smooth.
Something else you can do with forms, let's say for these notes, we have edit multi-line text. But for description, we should, if we want the same thing, multi-line text, there it is. Now, this is where, in my mind, it sort of breaks down. Now, if we were a good little boy working with Dataverse, we would have created a choice column, and then the form would pick up on that and actually put a little combo box there for us, right?
Yeah.
But so because I did it this way, typically I would have a drop down and would have items here. And I can show you how I would implement this if I had to use a form. Okay. This task status, I don't think that I populated that. So I'm a little perplexed. So I am going to take that out and then add it back. And it still hasn't brought over this task status. So I need to do a refresh on the schema. And I'm going to try to re-add it. And it's not allowed. Do you see the issues that we have when we don't name something right the first time?
Yeah. So now Jad Figueroa just brings up another thing. He says, I will bother a bit more about the nested gallery. That's fine. This is what this is about. What about using group by in the parent gallery? That would be a way of doing things. You could do it that way.
Yeah.
Group and ungroup. I've never used group by because I usually just use a filter, and I use that stuff as a collection creator. But maybe you could. That'd be an interesting test to see if you could do that.
Yeah, the way that we're doing it by any means, it's not the only way of doing it.
Right.
You know, a lot of times there's 2 or 3 different ways, and sometimes it's not a matter of which one's the best way, but more of personal preference and what you have the most experience working with and doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm recreating this. I don't think there was any data in our task status. Okay.
And then Data is King asked, can you use the same form to update existing records and add new records? Absolutely. That would be the magic of it, right?
Yeah, and that's how I've set it up. Do you guys notice that when I was on the first screen, I had a little plus icon at the top to do a new one, and then I've got if you click on the label, it actually does the edit. So it currently should handle both of them. Okay. Status, task status there.
And you're doing that by passing in a reference to the record in LOC record, right? You're bringing that in. Some people might have gone past some people that weren't familiar with doing update context variables, but
could not find property named status. Yeah. So let's go in and look at this. I've got an error here. What's funny is I'm not referencing status here. Isn't that sort of strange?
Yeah.
So I think what I'm gonna have to do is get out of this project and come back. I've messed with the schema too much and it's confused it. So I'm going to, I have saved it. Let me go ahead and leave.
What are you thinking, David, about this? Is this helpful, do you think?
He's in awe. He's
Yeah, it
speechless.
is. This is one way of doing it, and I'm amazed. I have actually thought of it this way, but I didn't know how to move the tasks to align with the time, you know. So this is something I've learned.
This I would never have come up with this. So this was definitely a good thing. This is the beauty about Accelerator, right? So just to let you guys know that we're kind of coming in on this. So David's an Accelerator student, and he was having some issues, and I was over there on a call with him, and he showed me this thing just kind of as a happenstance. He says, "Yeah, I'm working on this other little thing over here," and I thought when he showed it to me, I thought, wow, this is pretty an amazing use case scenario for a lot of different things, and it would be great to maybe do on a live stream. But then at the same time, we can show the Accelerator students how to do something kind of cool. So this is all part of the Accelerator program that we do, and it's I don't know. I think it's a beautiful thing. What do you think about that, David?
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, you get to learn something really complex that You can't really do it on your own.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what's 1400
2 o'clock afternoon.
afternoon? Okay.
Afternoon.
Now, I want to say 9 o'clock. So let's go with 1600. So it'll last 2 hours. Okay. And priority, we'll say low. The status hasn't started. I'll hit save. So now John should have something here. Now I said 1600, right? So if I click on this, no, I said 1400. Okay.
200.
So that's 2. Hmm.
I mean, it's kind of your
Maybe my headings aren't set up right too.
your scale, right? Your scaling is going to be off a little bit too with that. You could get this fine tuned a lot better, but
Okay, what I want to do, I want to make this label start. Well, some people's names might be really, there might be more to someone's name. So maybe I need to have this gallery start a little more over. And, okay. I think what I'd like to do, not only have the task name, but also the time, so we can actually see that inside this grid. And I'll do a little dash, this item, and we'll say start time. Begin. Oh my goodness, really? I need to have an ampersand for it to give me IntelliSense.
Yeah.
Time. Start time. Isn't that frustrating?
yeah.
All right, but I don't want the date in there. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to do a text, which is a lot like a format, and I could say hour, minute,
Yep.
AM, PM.
Or maybe just put an AP because you're going to be short on space.
Yeah, so you notice, so this is the shortcut of telling it that you want the AM, PM. Now, if you look at how it's being displayed, it's not using what I'm putting here. It's actually putting AM if it's an AM and a PM if it's a PM.
I see. Okay.
And what I don't like is that we've got word wrap going on. I want it to be all one line. You know what we could do instead of this is we could do a carriage return line feed, which is a char
13.
13. All right. Very good. I'm glad you remembered because I didn't. All right. So how does that look? You guys like that? Maybe we might want to have the description in there too. You think we should put the description in?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
people don't know what
Okay.
they that's probably more important than the rest of it, right?
Yeah. Let's do. Let's do it. So we're going to show the description, but we don't need to format it. We need text. It's already going to be a text. And because we don't have a description, it's not going to put a blank line there. Okay. So if I go in and click on John's mess, and I'm like, no, that needs to be 1500 hours. Save. You see how it moved it right there? Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really cool. So is it moving by the first right top right corner? Like, is that the starting point, or no?
Yeah, 0.
Top left corner, right? Rather
Right here.
of the label. Yeah.
Yeah. See, 8 a.m.
Yeah.
That's when your day starts. Now, what I want to do is I want to add one for John Doe. That's John Doe, and say last thing to do. Okay. The start time, I want this to be tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. And I want that to be tomorrow, and I want that to go to 6. So 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. tomorrow morning should show up on that, right? Here's a description, and we'll make this priority high. And I'm not even going to put a status. I'm going to hit save. What happened there? It didn't even show up. So let's go look at the data. Last thing to do, John Doe. You know what? Why it's not showing up? Because it's tomorrow.
Right. You had a greater than and less than.
Yeah. So let's go look at the code that went to go get the collection. Okay. Well, we looked at the selected day. What this really needs to be is 8 hours.
Right.
Date add. Boom. And we add 8 hours to it. Date add. I'm going to get rid of this extra code.
You're doing that because after midnight, right? You're doing this because after midnight, it's going to start a new day, so it's can't. So you say,
yeah, they're not working from a calendar day. They've got like their own fiscal day, and their fiscal day starts at 8 a.m. and goes to 8 a.m. the next day.
Yep.
So now if I go back one day, and really what I should do is have little arrows so they don't have to go in here and do like 4 clicks. There we go. There's 5 a.m.
Yep.
and it goes to 7. Now, if it went to 8, then the 8 a.m. would start here. That would be for the next day. So this is actually looks like it's displaying things quite right.
It is. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So Data is King asks, can you show a completed task and highlight this in another color? That's actually the beauty of this is you're using labels, and you can change the colors of the labels and the text based on that. You could do it based on priority, based on like length of time, or if it's late or not. There's so many cool things you could do with this. Now, I tell you what, now I'm sitting here thinking, because I wasn't going to do it this way. I was going to do it with columns, showing a column for each one, and I still want to know how to do that. I still want to know how to do that. But because you kind of took this down another trail, but it was kind of a cool trail. It's pretty neat, Darren, what you did. It's kind of nerdy, but I love it. But anyway, so what would be interesting though is if you could scale this to say, look, I want to see 3 days or 4 days worth of information, and so then your timeline would be. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So you went back and you wanted to do a planner and say, I want to see a week's worth of tasks at a time. So you would, it'd be interesting to see how that got done. That maybe it would have to be completely different in this, and maybe you would have to do a left scroll to where you could actually see the like you're displaying today, but then you would have to show another set of days to come across, or set another time set.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different directions that we could go with this, because everybody, like each organization, sometimes even departments, they want different things displayed different ways.
Yeah.
What's important is we get a minimal viable product, and now we've got something. We put it out there. We have them start playing around with it, giving us even more feedback.
Yeah.
But getting out there so people can start playing around with it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm displaying is the status here. Okay. Let's go over to this other screen and let's talk about the different statuses that we want to have. And I'm going to add in a drop-down list. Unlock and add. There we go.
How you doing on time? How you doing on time today, Darren?
We're doing fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the status is hasn't started. Unless you guys got better verbiage for me. In progress and done.
Yeah.
Now we could say waiting on something else. There's all kinds of different stuff we could do. But in a drop down like this, we shouldn't be adding and removing items every week or every month, as long as the requirements have been banged out and it's a little season. And like, yeah, it's only going to be one of 4, one of 3, and I would probably go with these 3. Okay, and then what I would do is, if you look at a form's data card. What's a data card? A data card is a way that a form will sort of group a bunch of controls together. Okay, so here we've got quite a few. And if you look at the properties, you'll look at something called update. Well, here's an update field. Data card value 8. What's data card value 8? It's a text box. Well, instead of using that, let's just use drop down 1. Okay, so we'll copy that. We'll go in for the update. And instead of it using that, I'm going to use this drop down, but what I'm going to say is selected text dot value. Okay. And then what I do is I just put this drop down right on top of this, this text box. Maybe we could take out the text box, but then you got errors to work with because of how it was set up. So there we go. Now for this drop down list, what we need to do, we need to make sure that the default is set up to actually look at parent.default. So now if I save, Darren's task 1 hasn't started. Hit save. Okay, I'm going to go over here to the data, and I'm just going to refresh this. Okay, and I want to show the status. Hasn't started. Okay, very good. Now, I did notice something a little odd, which is the width, perhaps, of this label. I think our height is dynamic, but the width is not. So what I'm going to say is at least give it enough width here to go across a little bit, maybe 260. Okay. We probably want the width to be based on how much time it's going to take to do it. But
Yeah, that
I mean,
would be really cool.
That would be smooth, man. That would
Yeah.
be smooth.
but what if it's only going to take 15 minutes? Or let's say we make it can only
Right.
go
Have a
down
minimum.
for 30, right?
Yeah, have a
Well,
minimum.
we'll have to
That would
see
be
how
a
that looks,
pro
because
move.
if we make it really slim, it's only 30 minutes long. There's not a lot of text that you can put in there, right?
Yeah.
So
I
that's
guess
something
that
to
would be
keep in
like
mind.
a limit to,
Yeah,
the
minimum.
the space. Yeah.
You gotta have a minimum width on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do on one of these, like for this task, I want this to be noon. Okay, so I'll say that, hit save. And then John's mess, I want that to start at 8 p.m. What's 8 p.m. in military time?
20.
20 or something.
20,
20?
20.
Yeah.
And then I'll do 2300 there. Okay.
I think you need to load the
I think what's
collection
off
score.
are the placement of my labels here. So that's right at 12. 8 p.m. Is that right? Did I do that right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think your labels are right. I mean, the top labels are not right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
So
could.
8 p.m. should be right there. And then for this one down here, I'm going to make this to be right at midnight, which would be, well, 23.
Well, Darren, if you were going to do this right, you would use your same formula for your text for your top labels as you do for your rows. For your
You're right.
well, Darren.
You're right. When you're right, you're really right.
And then if it changes, we don't have time.
All right,
Kurt.
so I'm going to go back one day, go forward one day. Now I missed one of them. Did you see that?
Mhm.
Let me go in here and do a refresh because I messed up. It's John Doe's second task. And it's the next day. I needed that to be still 9. And this needs to be 9. Maybe I messed that up when I was on there. Come on, Dataverse. Come on. Let me. There we go. Okay, cool. It didn't change the time. Okay. So it went for 11 p.m.
To 10
I
p.m.
wanted it to be tomorrow at 7 a.m. That's what I wanted. And then this would be 10, and I would be done at 7:59 a.m. Come on, help me out. Come on. I have to click in there like 5 times. Okay. Very good. So that's what I wanted. And if I go to the other screen and come back, it should refresh my data for me. And there it is. It's right at the end. That's good.
Yeah.
So okay. So let's move these things around. So I've got gal tasks. For the X here, what I want to say is galtask.x. Okay. And that's right on. Okay. But for the 12, well, let's go look at the X, how we determined X here. This is the formula that we used.
Yep.
And then for this label over here, we're going to say X. And let's look at this. Of course, we have this item. The start time is going to be the date picker.
This nasty.
Oh my goodness.
I guess maybe you could put it in a gallery or something, right?
No, this is gonna work.
And then we'll say the current one we're on is going to be noon, right? So 12 p.m. And it doesn't have to be a dynamic day. And then we've got that gallery down there, which is gal tasks template width. Okay. But we also want to say, because when I put on the 12 p.m., now it's going to be a string. So now I need to make this a
date time. A date time.
Value. Date. Is there a date time value?
I think it's
Is that
date
a function we can use?
I think it is. I'm still kind of no. Maybe just date time value, date value.
The thing is a date value. I think it chops off the time.
I thought it was date time value. There it is.
Date time value. Yeah, I was missing the word value there. Okay, so that's going to make sure that is that. Okay, and then we'll subtract 8, get hours, multiply it by that, divided. Did that do it? No.
You're
almost got 175. I think we need to add. Yeah, we need to add. Where's the first one here? The 8 a.m. We need to add that right there to it. So we'll add that. We probably need some parentheses around things for order of precedence while doing arithmetic. There we go. So now we'll take this. We could probably create it as a name formula if Going to
We
be
could.
slick, right?
We could.
8 p.m.
Yeah, I like the way you think there. Get it working one time and then make it a formula, make it a procedure so that you can repeat it.
Yeah, I'm in the text property though. I sort of messed that up. So the text should be 8 p.m., right? Is that the one that we're on? Yeah. Okay. So I'll go get that. Go get the X. Copy that. Go into this one. Go into the Y. And we will paste that, but we'll make sure that this is 8 p.m. Oh, look at
You should make a video out of this, Darren.
that. 12 a.m.
See, this is what's nice about this is going to work in a responsive app just as well.
Mm,
You know, the way
I
that's
like
set
it.
up. Yep.
Now that needs to be a.m. Very good. Very good. Now, why aren't these spaced out evenly? Because there's only 4 hours between this and this. We need to have a 4 p.m. and a 4 a.m.
Yeah.
That's what's missing.
You
That's
just
why
need
it was
more stuff.
bothering me.
You just need more stuff in there. And we could detail this out. You can make this as detailed as you wanted it to be, really, using the same formula.
All kinds of directions we could go, huh?
Absolutely.
4 p.m. in there. Yeah.
I'd like to see that timeline up there be able to be scrolled over to the next day or to the next day or to the next day. That would be kind of smooth.
Just use Outlook, Kurt. Just use Outlook.
We're gonna build our own Outlook. Remember how we used to build our own buttons?
Because we don't have enough things to do.
We actually created in my advanced Visual Basic class. We actually went in and learned the Win32 API, and we actually created our own Windows Explorer. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty smooth with the icons and everything. We used the icons that came with the Explorer and everything. Yeah.
You see what Michelle says? Hey, listen up, people. People pay big money for this. That's when you know it was on Kurt's exam.
Yeah, that's another Kurtism.
It's King's being picky. On the tables, why is the second gap between 8 a.m. and
You're fixing
12 p.m. wider than the first gap? And maybe he said this. Oh, he said that a while back. But
yeah, that was back before we started doing the redesign on the top.
Now, what I don't like is this is so close. It's like we need a little bit more padding, or as Kurt would say, gutter, right?
Yeah. I didn't come up with that term, but I made it profound. Yeah.
You made it profound.
That's right.
Okay. So a few more things. Now I know we've been going for a while, but there are a few more things that I might want to do here.
Absolutely.
So
one moment.
it says, this is so funny. It says active. Why does it say active? Because I'm using status. What if we use task status? Hasn't started. Okay. Well, what we could do is we could change stuff based on the priority as well. So in this case, for the fill of the label, okay. So if it's if it's active, I want to make it green. If it's if it's not started, okay. So let's use something like switch. I was about to ask Kurt if we should use an if or a switch, but then then I see he's not there. So this item dot task, I'm sorry, priority. Yeah, there we go, priority. If it is If it's high, I want to say color dot red. If it is low, a lot of times you see those things in Outlook as a blue, color dot blue, not beige, blue. Otherwise, maybe a color dot light gray. Now, based on what I just did there, Kurt, would you have done a if then else, or would you have used a switch like I? Oh my goodness, so small.
If it's 3 or less, I do an if, and if it's anything more than 3, I do a switch. That's my rule. That's just Kurt's rule.
Trying to move things around so you guys can see this better here. Okay. Oh, look at this. So this is a high priority item. Now, the red is a little much, if you ask me. In the blue, like a pure red or a pure color is almost too much on the eyes.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do instead of red is I'm going to say maroon. And instead of blue, I'm going to say light blue or powder blue.
Yeah, I kind of like the power pastel look. The light
Yeah.
blue, maybe the maroon instead of maroon, make it a light red, or maybe even a pink,
Yeah. What about a pink?
a light pink. Yeah, light pink.
Yeah. I like it. And then if it's gray, I almost want an even lighter gray than
You
that.
do a light gray, yeah. You do a
So it
fade.
says light gray, but I want a lighter gray. Is there any way we can do a color, like we could fade the color of that?
Yeah, do a fade.
Color fade. How much are we going to fade it? 50%.
About that much.
There we go. That looks nice.
I do.
And
like it.
what about the border of the label? Okay, so if we look at this, we've got a border color. Well, instead of having, what does it have there? This weird blue color. Well, let's use what we use. We will say self dot fill,
Yeah.
but we probably want a little darker. Do we have a color darken function? No,
No.
but we still have color fade. Well, we don't want to fade it. We'll make it darker. We'll give it a negative number.
Negative number.
50%. Okay.
Jad Figueroa says, I found switch is slower than ifs. To anyone else have the same result? You know, I never even paid attention.
We need to create a benchmark application to test this, Kurt.
We do. Maybe we can do that on one of our live streams. Let's do some benchmark stuff with data and with some different things. Yeah. I like it. I've never even checked into that before.
Yeah, I'm messing with the padding here. Not make it look so scrunched in there. Let's go with maybe 20 and 20. That's a little weird. Is there an auto height maybe on this? There we go. Ooh.
Now, what did you just do?
Just playing around.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm just getting more and more jealous of you all the time. Coming up with some cool stuff here.
Yeah, so what's weird is that I want that row to go down more. What's going on with that?
I do like that overlapping though. Isn't that cool? That is
okay.
Way cool.
So this gallery, what I did for the I just a numeric value of 40. Isn't that weird? What I want to do for this gallery is I want to take, and this is a vertical one.
Right. Flexible, right? It's a flexible one.
So how do I make this thing
you got to increase the template size, right? Template size got to get taller.
So let's go in here and we'll say self dot all items count.
Nice.
And then we say times label 5. Am I not okay? Label 5, boom, dot height. Now, why isn't this working?
Now, Jad Figueroa says take self dot height divided by self dot all items count.
But if we've got 5 items in there, see, dividing will take us down. Multiplication will take us up. Right. So I need more height here.
Right.
So I've got 2 times, let's say the height of that thing is 100. Well, I need it to be 200.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's right.
But
it's not doing it.
What is the height of this? The height of this label is 1.
Parent template height.
We might have something like a recursion, a circular reference here. So what I want to do for this label, I don't want the height. I want this height to be it should be dynamic.
Yeah.
Because it says auto height, boom, on. So I shouldn't be able to change the height. It just has 1. Why?
So change the auto height. Turn that auto height off when you're doing that FX.
Okay. Yeah, I might have to.
It might be confusing it.
Yeah, it's all confused. I'm confused.
Me too.
I'm gonna go 75 for now. What is going on here? I messed it all up. I messed it up, guys. I'm sorry. Okay. So this template size, okay, we got all those things in there, and the height of this label should be 50.
This seems very
or 75. So what is the problem now? Do we still have our collection? Yeah, I messed it up royally. Visible equals
I think
false.
you changed the visible somewhere.
Really?
When did we do that? What did you do, Darren?
I guess I messed up. I'm glad you guys are here with me. So visible. I see where it says auto height. I clicked on that instead, maybe.
Oh,
yeah, thanks, Chad.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
Okay, so here's a question. Why is this not the Y? Yeah, the Y needs to be changed up a little bit here. No, it's vertical. It goes down. I feel like I'm like my brain's mush. Like when developing software, it's not like you're going to be sitting here for 2 or 3 hours. You're going to get up probably, hopefully, at least once an hour and clear your mind and go get a drink from the kitchen or something, right?
Or for some of us, 15 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. You do a lot there, Darren, with all the piloting and everything you got going on. It's pretty cool. So your mind's got to deal with that. So.
Yeah. So this template size is 1. Why is it 1? I've got 2 items in there times the height of the label. The height of the label is 75. So that should be 150 on the label 5 height is blank. So I'm just going to say 75. Well, it's got a little scroll bar in there now. So the height of the gallery. Oh, if I was going with 75, put that there.
Oh, you know what? We're dealing with the template size of that gallery. Maybe we got to do with the actual height of that gallery. Yeah, look at that.
What am I doing wrong here, Kurt?
Well, I was just thinking you're dealing with the template size of that gallery. Maybe you actually had to deal with the actual height of that gallery as well, because it seems like that gallery is going off the charts.
Yeah, so the height is all items times 75. So we're making 75 the height of a label. We're not doing the auto height, okay? So that's the height. And that looks good. Right? The template size should only be 75. Okay, here we go. Now, a gallery also has padding. So I'm going to put 0 as the padding.
Yeah.
And it sort of looks cool right now. There's a little bit of an overlap. It sort of bothers me. Well, why is that overlap there? You know? See, there's that label. Why is the red going on past that? It's probably because I've got padding in there. That's what's going on. And of course, this bothers me. We need a little bit more gutter space in there. But this isn't too bad, huh?
No, it's beautiful, man.
Now let's make sure that we've sort of figured out what's going on here. What I just did. So this gallery has got a height because the parent is a flexible height. The inner gallery, the child gallery, needs to take up all the space. It needs to display all these labels inside of it, all these tasks.
Yeah.
So it will dynamically grow, and then the parent gallery should see that and dynamically make one row really big if it needs the space and really narrow if it doesn't need the space. So do we have that? It looks like we have that, but there's a few pixels off. And I think after we fix that, I feel like we'd be at a good spot here.
I do too.
But do you see where I've got this label selected, but the pink just goes on?
Yeah.
You find that a little weird there?
Yeah.
Guys? Now, if I took out the top and the bottom padding, will that fix us? Why is there, seems like there's a second one or something in there. It's really weird. So, maybe that's like a bug or something.
Maybe.
Because I've got the label selected, and if the label keeps going on, these little dots should be down below. So, So David, what do you think of this? So, does this give you a good place to start and to work with this project?
Yeah, I think the hardest part was the how to move the tasks with the time.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
done that.
slick. That was
Yeah,
magic there.
yeah, yeah. And you've done that like brilliantly. So I don't see anything wrong here. Yeah, it's a really good place to start. Yeah,
4 p.m. is 1600, right?
Yep.
yeah.
Let's make this go to 1800. And the priority, we've got we had 3 colors. We got the pink and we got the blue. Let's make this a low priority. There we go. So that started at 4 p.m. So if we keep adding, let's add one at 4 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, did you
Got this
notice
one.
when you were running it that last time, the overlap didn't seem so bad on those two? Did you notice that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it is just a display. See that? It looks so
Yeah,
bad.
that's really cool.
Okay, it's looking good now. I give up.
Good job.
All right, Data's King says height of gallery is 40 for task 1, 80 is for task 2.
Yeah, that was back when we were working through it.
Oh, okay.
You know, Darren, you're not always good, but when you're good, you're really good, man.
Yeah.
You know?
But sometimes I've got to like almost block everybody's talking out, because I remember this back when I taught, and I'm sure that you, whenever you're teaching a classroom of people or even virtually like this, if you feel like you're like, you got like, oh, I need to think through this. What am I doing wrong? Everybody and their mom was jumping, oh, do this. Hey, do this.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
listen, guys, I can't troubleshoot and think through this. Now if I'm sitting here thinking for 10 minutes, I can't figure it out, then I've got to like, okay, you guys got any ideas? But it's hard, at least for me, it's hard for me to troubleshoot and analyze and think while people are like, oh, it's this, and I wish my brain could actually troubleshoot and listen to people say that at the same time, but my brain is wired a certain way. I just can't do it.
Yeah. Chile. Is that Chile or is that Chile?
Chile or is it Shell?
It's Shell. That's what it is.
Shell.
There you go. This is why I
Shelly.
like y'all, because you talk it out and work the problem. Yeah, that's what we try to do.
And then Jet says
he hates our videos because when we finish it, he's got more ideas.
More ideas and stuff to do.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. So.
Yeah. And we could do more things. We can put icons on top of these labels. Like if it's done, we do a little check. Oh, it's done. Yeah. Or it's like waiting on the customer to do, what's that?
It's endless what you could do here.
Yeah.
There's just so many things you could do, so many use cases for it. And I'm really happy because I actually had another way of doing it. And when you started doing this, I'm thinking, well, this is going to be junk, Darren. I don't like this. And then by the time you got finished, and he does that to me all the time. He'll come in. I remember when we were working together years ago, he'd come into my office. He'd go, well, Kurt, what do you think about doing this? I'm like, no, that's a dumb idea. And then he'd sit there and wait about 20 minutes, and then he'd come back at me and say, well, if you did this, you could do that. And then he'd keep working it. And then by the time I got done, I said, let's try it, Darren. And then when we do it, I just loved it. And then I'm just, that's what he always does.
Yeah.
This is really good, man. I really like this. Yeah, this is a lot better than my idea. I hate.
And what is this? This is looking like a Gantt chart.
Yeah, it is a Gantt chart.
We just need to have a horizontal scroll bar here now, right?
So speaking of Gantt charts, you could do this with anything, right? So you could use this as a Gantt chart too.
Yeah.
So.
I think up here dynamically, instead of it starting at a specific hour, well, these could be dates. Hit a date range and I think with typical Gantt charts, you're working with days or dates rather than times, right?
Right.
But all this could be dynamic. If you guys look at one of my examples, I have an invoicing app. You do a search for invoicing app, Darren Neese will probably come up, and there's like a grid type of style where you can enter hours for people, and it's got days of the week at the top. There's a lot of similar things that I did for that. Now, I didn't have all this dynamic stuff, but
now, David, what you could do with this too, because you could make this, if you needed this to be more finited, is that a word? If you needed this to be more finite, you could actually do this by the shift, and you could display only the shift's hours on there too, if you wanted to, right? So you could do it that way. So that's kind of cool. Finited.
And every place that you see me type in a specific number, the 8 a.m.s or the whatevers is like have variables for everything. Yeah. And then it's like really dynamic. You can make that time span just be 8 hours, like Kurt just said, a specific shift, and have a drop down for graveyard shift, or what are the other shifts called? Normal shift, day shift, night shift, and then graveyard.
Day shift, evening shift probably.
Yeah, good idea, David. I really appreciate your situation here that you brought to us, and I appreciate you being getting on here with us too.
Yeah, trust me, I found it so amazing, and like my mind is blown. I was just watching quietly, waiting to see what's going to happen, and now my expectations have been exceeded.
And now the YouTube world has been introduced to David and his app, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this is the type of stuff that happens in the accelerator program, guys. If you got a good question and stuff, well, you're gonna get a good answer.
Yep, we're
going to go through it and have fun have fun doing it.
We're gonna have a
So,
blast doing it. Yeah, just have a blast.
and
Yeah.
so I always think whenever we get to this point is what's the best video for you guys to watch next? For some reason, YouTube thinks you're going to like this video next. Let's see if they're right. Or you can select this playlist, which I've selected for you based on the content you're currently watching. Guys, got to hurry. Click one of them. Otherwise, YouTube's going to autoplay some other video.